Hello, my name is Iji and I'm going to offer some revelations about the master Peter Deunov. I will do that with the help of a computer because I cannot read as I am blind, so it will be maybe a bit noisy. I will do my best. I will do my best to offer the best quality. I want to speak about a man of courage, a man of honor and dignity. The master Peter Deunov was not a weak man, not at all. He had a fantastic courage to discover the truth and to speak the truth afterwards. He was afraid of nothing. He was able to speak to the people of his country, Bulgaria. He was able to adapt and to reveal the truth and the love of God. He was a man who was able to give the example and to use the highest pedagogy, which is the pedagogy of the example. Be ready to enter the secret of our civilization. It's time for you to know the truth of yesterday, of today, and of tomorrow. Be ready to hear what you never heard before. The real secrets hiding behind the story of this fantastic master of Bulgaria, the master Peter Deunov. Enter the secret of humanity, the secrets of the masters. Know the truth. Open your mind and be ready for the truth. The master comes with a fantastic knowledge. It doesn't come to us just to socialize and speak things that everybody knows. Through the story of the master Peter Deunov, you are going to discover some quite intense stuff that are absolutely still actual today. For this, as I said before, I will be using a computer that is of a high quality, but is sometimes a little bit too talkative. I'm sorry about this, but I do the best with the blindness.
Unlock button 135.
The 1944 prophecy of Peter Deunov. Peter Konstantinov Deunov, aka Beinsa Douno, was born in 1886 and grew up in the Ottoman Empire, now Bulgaria. In 1888 he traveled to America where he studied theology and medicine for 7 years. On return to Bulgaria he refused to become a Methodist or Theosophic preacher, positions that were freely offered to him. In 1890,
Peter Deunov _ track position 27.4 seconds.
So the first point to understand that is very important is about this stay in America. In America, the master Peter Deunov will learn theology, which is the teaching of Blavatsky. He will learn also medicine and a lot of other stuff to be able to improve and to put a complete cosmic knowledge together. In the story of Blavatsky comes the first betrayals, the betrayals against humanity. What am I talking about? Blavatsky created the theosophy that it became a power of knowledge, of commitment, and everything was used to improve the world, the society. Unfortunately, when Blavatsky became old, she expected Krishnamurti to be the next one who would be leading the theosophy. The theosophy invested a lot of money in Krishnamurti, who was discovered when he was a young kid and was supposed to become the next master of theosophy. The family of Krishnamurti blackmailed the theosophy, who wanted to pay for Krishnamurti to learn, and they said, no, you have to pay for the 2 children, not only one. So they were obliged to pay also for the brother of Krishnamurti. And the case of the brother of Krishnamurti was very complicated because he was very ill. So the theosophy spent a lot of money to protect and help the brother of Krishnamurti. At the end, in spite of all the efforts of this theosophy company, the brother died, and that made Krishnamurti absolutely crazy. It was his exam, if I can say it so, in front of the light. And because of this terrible event, Krishnamurti betrayed completely the theosophy and refused to take the follow-up of the control of theosophy. Therefore, the theosophy stayed, I would say, headless. No one could lead. And the government of England sent somebody called Alice A. Bailey to take the control of theosophy. And she was a woman who was a bit crazy. She had a lot of nervous breakdown. She tried to commit suicide many times, and she was extremely unwell and unbalanced. Psychic at the same time, but completely sick. And with the help of Shirley MacLaine, she created the New Age. The New Age that we know today, the New Age as we can discover it everywhere It is everything that seems to be spiritualist and is in fact a cancer of spirituality, because people, instead of learning, they do a workshop of New Age for 2 or 3 days, and they are a master of Reiki, a master of whatever you can imagine, Kundalini Yoga, a lot of disciplines created completely, 100% by the New Age, Alice Bailey and Shirley MacLaine. The future of humanity was supposed to change with the work of Blavatsky and Theosophy. And the master Peter Deunov, who learned with them for 7 years, knew this. He knew that the civilization was supposed to change with the victory of the Theosophy. Unfortunately, he didn't foresee the betrayals of Krishnamurti, who created like a huge hole in the story. And finally changed completely this. Because the Theosophy, that was the beginning of a really new age of light in our civilization, with people powerful. I will give you the example of Conan Doyle, who was a disciple of the Theosophy. Conan Doyle being the writer of Sherlock Holmes, and giving the example of Theosophy, that is to say, being very clever, very quick, brilliant, and fighting against darkness and injustice. That was the teaching of Theosophy through some fantastic knowledge of any kind. And Krishnamurti destroyed this by creating a sort of monster that is the New Age. So now when we speak about the New Age, we have to understand there is the New Age of evolution that should be in the world, that should be existing now in our world of 2014, and the New Age that was created by Shirley MacLaine, that created this philosophy of New Age that is everywhere, that is very stupid basic knowledge, manipulated so that every time when we believe that we learn philosophy, we learn the devil. I know so many people who did the worst things, even with their own children, to teach them the freedom of sexuality, who took the worst drugs and worst food because they were so powerful that they were supposed to be able to change everything into light. So people were really meaning to do something good, and who started to be diabolic because they were following the teaching of the New Age, the weird child of Theosophy, because of the betrayals of Krishnamurti. And for the Master Peter Deunov, that was indeed something very interesting to understand. And the Master Peter Deunov tried to be in contact with Krishnamurti to understand what happened. In the teaching of a high level, the basic knowledge, the common sense, at least not for the classical people, but for the highest people, is to know that we exist because we were created or manipulated or motivated, turn it as you want, by different aliens. And that our civilization started on the existence, on the manifestation of aliens on our planet. Some aliens taught us to be slaves, and we grew up like being in a hive. We have no intelligence, we have no free will. The only existence that exists is the hive. and the protection of the leaders of the hive, the queens. And this teaching is extremely present in our psychology of today, because we learned to become bees of the hive that we call humanity, which is turned only to the advantage of the leaders of the planet, the others being only bees, slaves of the system. Then we know also that some other aliens existed in our evolution to tell us to wake up, to react. And those aliens are very high beings, being part of a cosmic brotherhood, trying to pull us into the evolution of this cosmic brotherhood. The Master Peter Deunov, knowing his basic knowledge in the initiation, tried to teach that to his country, that is to say Bulgaria. But Bulgaria, being a very simple country with a very simple population, especially at that time, he could bring this knowledge only through the high ideal. He always spoke about the cosmic celestial brothers that were there to look after evolution. And when he spoke about this, of course, he was not talking at all about the masters who created this philosophy of the hive, of the slavery, but he spoke about the other aliens. What is interesting is to see that the Master Peter Deunov developed the panorhythmy, knowing that the entity Pan is obviously an alien entity who tried to help the humanity to go to a higher level with peace between humanity and Gaia, our planet. It's interesting to see that today, through an obvious alien manifestation, humanity is shaken by a sort of information arriving to us through crop circles. And the crop circles are drawings done by aliens to try to guide us to an awakening that we should have in our civilization to be able to understand, to react. And it is quite interesting to see that when you look at the panorhythmy from far, it is absolutely a crop circle. If you take pictures of people dancing the panorhythmy from far, you absolutely believe that you have pictures from a crop circle. The circles of a high architecture are concentrating energy, sounds. With those sounds and with this energy, we could change the evolution of humanity. It is absolutely clear that the aliens of the past, good or bad aliens, we would say, used the energy of the planet Gaia itself to produce a fantastic energy that allowed humanity to accomplish anything. This powerful energy was used to make believe humans that most of those aliens were gods that were teaching us to be the slaves of the gods. Peter Deunov knew all of this because it's the basic knowledge you learn. If you don't have this knowledge, you cannot understand why we are so much in the error, in the mistake. If you don't know that, there is no way to know why we are so stupid. why we are so fanatic about the protection of the hive that is not protecting us but using us, as it was at the time, as it is today. So these things have to be understood so that we can understand a little bit the position and the teaching of the Master Peter Deunov. That was what was learned by the Master Peter Deunov. And that's what he tried to understand. How could Krishnamurti betray everything just because of his brother, betraying the evolution of the planet?
150.
He published the book Science and Education, in which he analyzed the development of mankind in a dramatic world events, about the foundations of a new culture which he thought was bound to take place during the forthcoming century. In the following years he delivered lectures such as The Origin of Man, Survey of Ancient and Modern Philosophy, Science and Philosophy, Why and How We Live, and the Basis of Enlightenment. He was at the center of the Spiritual Society of Varna, which in 1906 developed into a Sinaitic chain and in 1918 into the Universal White Brotherhood, while he himself was referred to as Master. The etymology of his by-name of Beinsa Douno has Sanskrit roots and translates as the one who brings in the good through the word. It is said he signed with this nickname some papers for the police to reduce the pressure on him, obviously shocking the police officers with the question, "Who are you?" In 1922 he opened the esoteric school of the Universal White Brotherhood in Sofia, where he delivered lectures for 22 years, until December 1944. During 1929 and 1932 he established contact with J. Krishnamurti, in Oman, Holland, who had left the Theosophical Society at that time and dissolved the Order of the Star in the East. For years he lived close to Sofia, surrounded by numerous disciples. From 1934 he started working on the pain rhythm E, a series of 28 exercises consisting of melody, text and plastic movements. Later on he added the exercises the sun rays and pentagram. Some days before his departure from this planet in December 1944, he is said to have been in a profound mediumistic trance and made an extraordinary prophecy. The prophecy during the passage of time, the consciousness of man traversed a very long period of obscurity. This phase, which the Hindus call Kali Yuga, is on the verge of ending. We find ourselves today at the front
Peter Deunov _ prophet track position.
Again, to understand those predictions and the evolution of the research about everything, you have to know that the Master Peter Deunov knew that something fantastic was supposed to happen in 1954, that is to say, 10 years after his death, changing everything for his coming back, when he was supposed to reincarnate, changing everything for the evolution of this planet. Because after the betrayance of Krishnamurti, this event in 1954 was the entry of our civilization in the cosmic brotherhood of light. And in 1954, the alliance of a very high knowledge of spirituality entered in contact with the American government and with the Russian government. And in both times they were refused. And that was something that was absolutely impossible to imagine. Absolutely impossible. It was the time where humanity was supposed to enter in the brotherhood of the august celestial brothers, to step into a new knowledge. But unfortunately, and in a way that was absolutely unforeseeable, the humans were so arrogant that they refused. There are events still quite hidden, but that happened in front of thousands of Americans and thousands of Russians. But in both cases, humanity refused. We were invited to leave behind us the nuclear weapons and to discover an old or very new way of energy, unlimited energy on this planet that would change everything in the evolution. But unfortunately, it was refused. And humanity entered a path of horrible darkness. This is something that you have to understand, because in most of the teachings of Peter Deunov is referring to a new age of light that would start in the fourth part of the 20th century. Today we're in 2014 and the situation is even worse. So of course there is something that happened that was not obviously foreseen. It is this refusal, this second betrayance of humanity. After Krishnamurti and the coming of Alice Bailey and Shirley MacLaine, it was then the time of the leaders of the world refusing to enter, refusing to leave the power of the weapons, the nuclear power. They preferred to keep that and to go deeper into the darkness of the world of today. And that is very important to understand, because when the Master Peter Deunov is talking about the evolution to the light, of course, everything he says is true. But everything is much harder than expected, because the second betrayance was not expected, or was maybe expected in the teaching of what's going to happen on this planet now, because we absolutely refuse the time of the light, the teaching and the guidance of the august celestial brothers. And by doing so, we are going to face what's going to come. We are in a time of darkness, in spite of everything that taught the Master Peter Deunov. We are in a time of violence. We are in a time of betrayance. Anyway, the evolution will come, but will come with a lot of darkness and pain.
Track position, 2 minutes, 51.
That of Kali Yuga and that of the new era that we are entering. A gradual improvement is already occurring in the thoughts, sentiments and acts of humans, but everybody will soon be subjugated to divine fire that will purify and prepare them in regards to the new era. Thus man will raise himself to a superior degree of consciousness, indispensable to his entrance to the new life.
And that, of course, was foreseen through the events of 1954 that happened but were refused. That was again a terrible betrayal.
That is what one understands by ascension. Some decades will pass before this fire will come, that will transform the world by bringing it a new moral. This immense wave comes from cosmic space and will inundate the entire earth. All those that attempt to oppose it will be carried off and transferred elsewhere. Although the inhabitants of this planet do not all find themselves at the same degree of evolution,
Screen lock.
the wave will be felt by each one of us. And this transformation will not only touch the earth, but the ensemble of the entire cosmos. The best and only thing that man can do now is to turn towards God and improve himself consciously, to elevate his vibratory level, so as to find himself in harmony with the powerful wave that will soon submerge him. The fire of which I speak that accompanies the new conditions offered to our planet will rejuvenate, purify, reconstruct everything. The matter will be refined. Your hearts will be liberated from anguish, troubles, incertitude, and they will become luminous. Everything will be
track position. 4 minutes.
Clearly, with the help of the August Celestial Brothers in 1954, that was supposed to arrive. We were supposed to face a complete different evolution, a complete revolution in our evolution. But unfortunately, because of the betrayance, this didn't happen, bringing a very dark evolution in our history. So, this is something always to understand when we read the teachings of the Master Peter Deunov, to understand that everything was calculated because of a fantastic positive evolution of 1954 that was absolutely refused. How could you refuse the evolution to the light? This can be only for a little while, with a lot of darkness and a lot of pain. This is where we stand now.
Track position. 4 minutes.
Activated, the thoughts, sentiments and negative acts will be consumed and destroyed. Your present life is a slavery, a heavy prison. Understand your situation and liberate yourself from it. I tell you this.
Of course, we are in a state of slavery because we follow the teaching of the dark aliens, of those who made believe humans that they were gods. But it's not true.
Exit from your prison. It is really sorry to see so much misleading, so much suffering, so much incapacity to understand where one's true happiness lies. Everything that is around you will soon collapse and disappear. Nothing will be left of this civilization nor its perversity. The entire earth will be shaken and no trace will be left of this erroneous culture that maintains men under the yoke of ignorance. Earthquakes are not only mechanical phenomena. Their goal is also to awaken the intellect and the heart of humans, so that they liberate themselves from their errors and their follies and that they understand that they are not the only ones in the universe. Our solar system is now traversing a region of the cosmos where a constellation that was destroyed left its mark, its dust. This crossing of a contaminated space is a source of poisoning, not only for the inhabitants of the Earth, but for all the inhabitants of the other planets of our galaxy.
Track position. 6 minutes.
Only the suns are not affected.
It is said that our planet is now traveling in an area of with a lot of debris from different civilizations that were destroyed because of their darkness. And this is why we were supposed to get the help of the August Celestial Brothers who came to teach us, to protect us from this. But unfortunately, again, they were refused.
Track position. 6 minutes. Speech off.
By the influence of this hostile environment. This region is called the 13th zone. One also calls it the zone of contradictions. Our planet was enclosed in this region for thousands of years, but finally we are approaching the exit of this space of darkness and we are on the point of attaining a more spiritual region, where more evolved beings live. The Earth is now following an ascending movement and everyone should force themselves to harmonize with the currents of the ascension. Those who refuse to subjugate themselves to this orientation will lose the advantage of good conditions that are offered in the future to elevate themselves. They will remain behind in evolution and must wait tens of millions of years for the coming of a new ascending wave. The Earth, the solar system, the universe, all are being put in a new direction under the impulsion of love. Most of you still consider love as a derisory force, but in reality, It is the greatest of all forces. Money and power continue to be venerated as if the course of your life depended upon it. In the future, all will be subjugated to love and all will serve it. But it is through suffering and difficulties that the consciousness of man will be awakened. The terrible predictions of the prophet Daniel written in the Bible relate to the epoch that is opening. There will be floods, hurricanes, gigantic fires and earthquakes that will sweep away everything. Blood will flow in abundance. There will be revolutions, terrible explosions will resound in numerous regions of the earth. There where there is earth, water will come, and there where there is water, earth will come. God is love, yet we are dealing here with it.
And this is something that we have to understand. Through this period that we call Kali Yuga, we were traveling in a time of extreme darkness, where the bad aliens had their complete power to make us believe that they were gods, to make us forget completely our real inheritance, our real contact with God. The New Age, through the betrayals of Krishnamurti, pushed to believe that we have nothing to do, that everything is fine, that if we think positive, the light will just come, which is of course a complete lie, because the time of evolution towards the light is going to be extremely tough and even worse now than we betrayed the events of 1954.
Chastisement, a reply by nature against the crimes perpetrated by man since the night of time against his mother, the earth. After these sufferings, those that will be saved, the elite, will know the golden age, harmony and unlimited beauty. Thus keep your peace and your faith when the time comes for suffering and terror, because it is written that not a hair will fall from the head of the just. Don't be discouraged, simply follow your work of personal perfection. You have no idea of the grandiose future that awaits you. A new earth will soon see.
And of course, to be part of this magical surrounding where the wise people will be protected, we have indeed to develop what we were supposed to develop with the help of the august celestial brothers. And as today it has been completely rejected, and that today we live in a world of darkness where the wise people are tortured and rejected and put in jail and sentenced to death and to the black malediction where everybody forgets them completely. We have to work this path of light. That would have been a fantastic positive revolution with our august celestial brothers, and is going to be a very tough way now without their help. Well, they are still there. They are there in the crop circles and in a lot of people who try to talk the truth, who are trying to teach the path of light. But this is going to be a very tough path, where to gain this light and this wisdom, it will be a path of very terrible events inside ourselves and outside.
In a few decades the work will be less exacting, and each one will have the time to consecrate spiritual, intellectual and artistic activities. The question of rapport between man and woman will be finally resolved in harmony, each one having the possibility of following their aspirations. The relations of couples will be founded on reciprocal respect.
Of course, if our civilization is able to evolve to the light, we will enter a time of prosperity, a time of peace, a time where the energy of the earth will feed humanity, and through this endless energy we'll be able to accomplish everything. We'll be able to save a lot of time, a lot of energy. And the time of fight to get the food, to get the money, and even to get the love will be over forever. And we will enter a time where the knowledge of the august celestial brothers will guide us, and we will learn to be part of this. But of course, now it's the opposite. It's an opposite of war, of betrayal, of darkness, where the so-called spirituality, New Age, Krishnamurti, and all those horrible stuff will have to stop guiding us so that we can enter a real path of a high ideal, of a pure mind as clear as the crystal.
Esteem. Humans will voyage through the different planes of space and break through into galactic space. They will study their functioning and will rapidly be able to know the divine world, to fusion with the head of the universe. The new era is that of the sixth race. Your predestination is to prepare yourself for it, to welcome it and to live it. The sixth race will build itself around the idea of fraternity. There will be no more conflicts of personal interests. The single aspiration of each one will be to conform himself to the law of love. The sixth race will be that of love. A new continent will be formed for it. It will emerge from the Pacific, so that the Most High can finally establish his place on this planet. The founders of this new civilization, I call them brothers of humanity, or also children of love. They will be unshakable for the good, and they will represent a new type of men. Men will form a family, as a large body, and each people will represent an organ in this.
It will be a time where people will understand that we are one. That when one suffers, the complete humanity suffers. That what is not good for everyone is not good at all. It will be a time of peace, a time of love, a time where we receive deeply the real teaching of Pan, the real teaching of the light, the real teaching of the august celestial brothers, where we will be the children of the light, the children of the love, and where everything is going to change. But it is not now. Don't believe the New Age. Don't believe Krishnamurti. Don't believe Shirley MacLaine, Alice Bailey. Don't believe everyone who is telling you now, if you are very positive, turn yourself to the light and the darkness will go away. The darkness is everywhere. The darkness is in each drop of the structure of the hive that we accept, that we worship, that we protect, even in our heads. We have to learn to see the truth, to step into a real new kingdom of light.
Body. In the new race, love will manifest in such a perfect manner that today's man can only have a very vague idea. The earth will remain a terrain favorable to struggle, but the forces of darkness will retreat and the earth will be liberated from them. Humans, seeing that there is no other path, will engage themselves to the path of the new life, that of salvation. In their senseless pride, some will, to the end, hope to continue on earth a life that the divine order condemns. But each one will finish by understanding that the direction of the world doesn't belong to them. A new culture will see the light of day. It will rest on three principal foundations: the elevation of woman, the elevation of the meek and humble, and the protection of the rights of man. The light, the good, and justice will triumph. It is just a question of time. The religions should be purified. Each contains a particle of the teaching of the masters of light, but obscured by the incessant supply of human deviation. All the believers will have to unite and to put themselves in agreement with one principle, that of placing love as the base of all belief, whatever.
In every manifestation of a guide of light, a religion started to exist and was at once used to become something dark. This is exactly what they did with Blavatsky and with the Theosophy, to change it into something absolutely dark that we call the New Age. But it was the same with the Master Jesus Christ, who came to teach the love and the respect, and was changed into loneliness, darkness, violence, Inquisition. And today, the Inquisition is back. You have in a lot of places laws starting to exist and to act against any kind of brotherhood. Laws acting against love. The love is bad. Even the sexual love is bad. The AIDS is a punishment of God. That's what those dark beings are going to teach you. In a lot of other religions, the woman is nothing, while we should learn to respect the woman, because she is the matrix of love and life. We should open ourselves to the subtlety, and not the muscles and the violence. But today, the darkness and the violence are everywhere. The power on the woman is everywhere. The power of the weak people, on those who have no power to change their destiny, is everywhere. We have to stand. We have to fight. We have to act to protect the brotherhood, to protect the light, to make this new brotherhood true. We have to make a complete revolution. Aliens were sent on earth for this revolution. The crop circles are sent on earth, and every time everything is denied and refused, because we have to live under the power and the protection of the hive, of the queens, of the power, of the money. There is a time coming of intense revolution, of intense light, of intense peace. But before that, the darkness being everywhere, we have to eliminate it, to clean Gaia from the pollution, the physical pollution and the spiritual pollution, all those dark religions, including the New Age, the Christianity, every religion. There's a time where we stand, all of us, as one, loving each other, protecting each other.
It may be love and fraternity that is the common base. The earth will soon be swept by extraordinary rapid waves of cosmic electricity. A few decades from now, beings who are bad and lead others astray will not be able to support their intensity. They will thus be absorbed by cosmic fire that will consume the bad that they possess. Then they will repent, because it is written that each flesh shall glorify God. Our mother, the earth, will get rid of men that don't accept the new life. She will reject them like damaged fruit. They will soon not be able to reincarnate on this planet, criminals included. Only those that possess love in them will remain. There is not any place on earth that is not dirtied with human or animal blood. She must therefore submit to a purification. And it is for this that certain continents will...
And of course, this purification, this revolution is not going to be soft, is not going to be nice. And you understand by this that the New Age and all those philosophies saying, oh, you just sit down and the time will come. The time came and was refused. Now we are facing an elastic effect where a lot of things are going to come with an extreme intensity. And it is not with your weak philosophy, your weak knowledge, your weak physical abilities, your weak electricity, your weak knowledge that you will be able to do that. Things are coming from everywhere. Tesla was a great master who knew a lot of stuff, but he invented nothing. He just read what was done in the past, what is possible everywhere in the cosmos, because each planet is a big center of energy that we can manifest through the knowledge of the sound, of the vibration of our planet Gaia that we should love and listen to. Listen to be reasonable, but listen to be also powerful, in peace, entities of peace, living on a world Gaia of peace and love, where love will be manifested everywhere. But this is not going to be easy. It's going to be tough, intense. Are you ready for this intensity? Are you fit? Are you strong enough for this intensity? I was stricken by the black malediction, where every one of my friends refused me, denied my existence, denied even my name, denied my teachings, because people are weak. And when the authorities are talking, everybody kneels down and says, Hive, you are divine, you are holy, you are always right. You have to learn to be powerful, to be strong, not to panic, not to be afraid. To die is nothing. As long as our actions are fantastic, our actions will be vibrations of the planet for the future, electricity, energy of existence for the future. Believe in your actions. Believe in your soul. You will need all this power to face what's coming.
Immersed while others will surface. Men do not suspect to what dangers they are menaced by. They continue to pursue futile objectives and to seek pleasure. On the contrary, those of the sixth race will be conscious of the dignity of their role and respectful of each one's liberty. They will nourish themselves exclusively from products of the vegetal realm. Their ideas will have the power to circulate freely as the air and light of our days. The words, if you are not born
Today, even to be vegetarian starts to be forbidden by different countries, like France, for instance, but other countries. And to be vegan is even more difficult, but it is the natural evolution. Today, to travel in the world is more and more difficult. You've got the control of the passport, of the identities, where they limit you, and in the best way you can have some tourism in a country, yes, but tourism is not traveling. Traveling is meeting people, and for this you need time. You stay in a country 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and then you move to the next country if you need. That is traveling. That is living in one country and the other one. And if the tourism is completely open, where you can go and spend your money wherever you want, the care about people is forbidden. The commitment to know our brothers and sisters from one country and the other one is forbidden. In some countries like Maldives today, the Muslim religion is going back very strongly, pushing people to fanaticism, where the sentence of death is welcome again, even for the children. Some stars from France, for instance, some very well-known people like Johnny Hallyday from France, said we have to boycott the Maldives because they do horrible stuff there, but people don't care. This country is going to break the record of holidays and money by the holiday. It's not that traveling in the world. Traveling in the world is meeting our brothers and sisters, taking position when the darkness is very strong, and spending time to know our brothers and sisters, being able to work freely. How could we accept that some people, even from Europe, from the East countries, they have nothing because they were born in the wrong country? That is not traveling. I have some friends from Morocco. They are very nice people, but they cannot travel because they are from Morocco. This is not freedom. The freedom is to let anyone traveling, anyone existing at the same level, with the same rights. That is traveling, meeting our brothers and sisters, and making our country one planet.
Again applied to the sixth race. Read chapter 60 of Isaiah. It relates to the coming of the sixth race, the race of love. After the tribulations, men will cease to sin and will find again the path of virtue. The climate of our planet will be moderated everywhere and brutal variations will no longer exist. The air will once again...
You see there that already at that time the Master Peter Deunov knew the climate changes coming all over the world. At one time it will change and will go back to a peaceful weather.
Become pure, the same for water. The parasites will disappear. Men will remember their previous incarnations and they will feel the pleasure of noticing that they are finally liberated from their previous condition. In the same manner that one gets rid of the parasites and dead leaves on the vine, so act the evolved beings to prepare men to serve the God of love.
It's an illness not to remember your reincarnations, even if it's like this everywhere, because it is so dark, so difficult to remember, so painful to remember. But will come a time after intensity where people will remember, where people could cure their evolution and could be even proud of their actions.
They give to them good conditions to grow and to develop themselves, and to those that want to listen to them, they say, "Do not be afraid. Still a little more time and everything will be all right. You are on the good path." May he that wants to enter in the new culture study, consciously work and prepare. Thanks to the idea of fraternity, the earth will become a blessed place, and that will not wait. But before, great sufferings will be sent to awaken the consciousness. Sins accumulated for thousands of years must be redeemed. The ardent wave emanating from on high will contribute in liquidating the karma of peoples. The liberation can no longer be postponed. Humanity must prepare itself for great trials that are inescapable and are coming to bring an end to egoism. Under the earth, something extraordinary is preparing itself. A revolution that is grandiose and completely inconceivable will manifest itself soon in nature. God has decided to redress the earth, and he will do it. It is the end of an epoch, a new order will substitute the old, an order in which love will reign on earth. This article and PDF available on http://www.ditrianium.org/n/articles/.
You see through that the time is not going to be easy. The time is going to be intense. The time is going to be difficult, but it is worth it. And when you see people all over the world being lazy, not being able to commit themselves into evolution, into transformation, it's a mistake. We have to learn to become exceptionals. We have to learn to become intense. We have to learn to understand a new energy, a new electricity on this planet that existed many thousand years ago to create fantastic stuff like pyramids and other elements that were used to develop this electricity, this intensity. we have to learn to have an energy that will be available to us to create anything that we can imagine. We have to understand the energy of this planet. There are two levels. There's the level of electricity of the planet itself. And there's the field of energy around us that we could use to access a comprehension, an understanding, a knowledge that we could call the real channeling, not this shit of channeling from the New Age, the real channeling, the real opening of ourselves to a comprehension that is there everywhere as a field of energy that we could read and understand, so that everything is changed, starting with our DNA. The sound of the cosmos can change our DNA. The electricity of the cosmos and of the planet can change our civilization, so that we become completely different. It is just possible. Comes a time of magic, of intensity, where we need the intensity of your soul. That is the knowledge. That is the magic. The intensity of the soul of the planet. That is the electricity. And everything will happen and will become true. Magical and intense. Comes a time of courage, of dignity, of accomplishment, of magic. Are you ready for this? Listen to the truth, to the teaching, and learn to be ready now, because the times are coming. You have to learn to be ready for an intensity that you cannot imagine. Something that is going to change everything. A time of peace will come. A time of magic, of light everywhere in our heart and on our planet. A time of purification, of revelation, of peace. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for the transformation? Are you ready for the magic and for the truth and for the love? Are you ready to believe in the light within yourself, for the light within the planet? Are you ready for the real New Age? Are you ready to meet the truth, and the real love, and the real light? Know who you are, and you'll be ready for what's coming. May the force be with you. May the courage be with you, ready for what's arriving.
Voici quelques mots soufflés dans votre oreille pour vous apporter le bonheur, la joie de vivre, la plénitude, l'équilibre et l'amour pour toujours. Votre oreille pour vous apporter le bonheur, la joie de vivre, la plénitude, l'équilibre et l'amour pour toujours.